Paying off debt is a worthy endeavor, but there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. There are three big mistakes I see when people are paying off their debt. There are others, but there are three big ones I constantly see. Number one is draining their emergency fund to pay off their debt. Here's how the story usually goes. The individual sees the light about their debt and how much it's costing them in interest, which is phenomenal, by the way. But then in a frenzy, they put every penny they have toward paying off their debt, knowing that by doing so, they're saving a lot in interest. But here's the problem. Life happens. Car breaks down, $750. Kid chips a tooth, $1,200, right? They lose their job and they can't make their $2,000 rent this month. Here's the problem, though. Because they've put every penny they have toward their debt, they no longer have an emergency fund to tap into in these rainy day situations. So what do they do to get through these tough times without an emergency fund? That's right, they accumulate more debt. They put these expenses on their high APR credit card. Or they get an outrageous payday loan with sky-high rates, and they end up being in a worse financial position than they started in. The better strategy here is to stash away at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses as an emergency fund, and then put every penny you can spare after that toward paying off your high interest debt. I know it may feel a little bit counterproductive to have money sitting in the bank that could be used to pay off your debt, right? That's accruing interest at a higher rate than what your bank is paying you. But just view your emergency fund as an insurance policy against the unexpected circumstances that life throws at us. Number two mistake I see people make when paying off debt is paying off low interest debt before high interest debt. Maybe they heard about the debt snowball. This approach to paying off debt says that one should pay off their debts in the order of smallest debt to largest debt, regardless of the interest rate. The thinking here is that as each debt is paid off, the individual gets a psychological bump that encourages them to keep going. I would say, look, perhaps it's worth it to approach debt payoff this way, to an extent, right? If someone has three debts, one for $9,000 at a 9% interest rate, one for $3,000 at 8.5%, one for $1,000 at 8%. I really wouldn't have any problem with this person tackling the $1,000 debt first to get pumped about it, even though it has the lowest interest rate of the three debts. But if that $10,000 debt is a credit card accumulating interest at 25%, you'd better believe I'd say that individuals should pay off that debt first before worrying about the $1,000 debt or $3,000 debt at lower interest rates. In fact, by leaving the larger high interest rate debt for last, the individual could end up with way more accrued interest in total on all their debt by the time they even pay off their smaller debts. Don't blindly follow debt snowball or debt avalanche. No one knows your debts. No one knows your personal capacity for self-motivation more than you do. Simply use common sense and math. If you think that using the debt snowball approach will really motivate you to pay off your debt, that's fine. But make sure you've done the math or worked with somebody who can run the numbers to evaluate what using that approach may cost you in terms of real dollars of interest accrual additionally. Mistake number three I see when people are paying off their debt is not looking at all their options, especially options that will either get rid of their debt entirely or at least allow them to pay it back at a lower interest rate. I see this a lot as a CPA with people who owe a lot of money to the IRS, right? Plenty of people think they need to dutifully pay their back taxes to the IRS when the reality is that the IRS has programs such as the offer in compromise that can essentially wipe away some or all their tax debt. I have a couple of videos on my channel about the offer in compromise that I would urge those of you who owe back taxes to watch. The same is true for other debt as well, such as federal student loans that may qualify for some kind of forgiveness in the future. Another option is refinancing one's debt with a lower interest rate. Although this takes time, right, it could really pay off in terms of interest savings. I personally refinanced my student loans from something like a weighted average, I think like 8% interest rate or something, to like a 2% interest rate a few years after I graduated from college. This literally saved me thousands of dollars over the life of my loans. Ignoring options like these could literally cost you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars when it comes to your debt. So educate yourself and know your options when it comes to dealing with debt. Yes, paying off your balances in full is a typical way to manage debt and might be your only option, but depending on your type of debt and your particular situation, there may be better options available that can really jumpstart your debt-free journey. Hey, if you appreciate my approach to personal finance, I actually put together a course recently called Prosper, and in this course, I basically share all my thoughts on personal finance, from budgeting to saving to retirement to taxes. I have a coupon code for my YouTube audience in the description below if you'd like to check out this course. There's more information on it in the description below and how you can get that 50% discount. If you'd like to hear my own story of paying off debt, check out this video right over here. I had $50,000 of debt as a young adult. And if you'd like to see a very poorly produced video I made when I was still starting out my channel on how to pay off your holiday debt, check out this video right over here. See you over there, folks.